Here it
Good
goes.
evening. Welcome to Let's Drone Out. Unfortunately, there's no Jack this evening because we had a second Tony on here, and I think it almost killed Jack. So he's currently in hospital. But I'm sure he'll come back at some point. In the meantime, we have Andy RC. Do you want to say hello?
Hello.
We have NJ. Say hello.
What do I say again? Hello, everyone.
There we go. And we've got Tone Star.
Bonjour.
Because it had to be not Tony this week in case the other Tony comes back, who's had a blackout while we were setting up. But never mind, maybe he'll come back on and talk about his interesting stuff that he was going to talk about. But yeah, in the meantime, how is everybody? Everyone all good? Give a shout out in the chat if you can hear us and everything's good in there.
Yes,
Tony,
I think the last time we were on, Tony was the one that was ready for hospital, I think.
Honestly, I called the ambulance at 2 a.m. that night.
And what was it? Was it food poisoning or something? What was the...
I don't know if it was food poisoning or a bug, but I was rough as rough. Like, I was so ill. It was horrible. I was laying on my toilet floor, puking and going the other end at the same time, and listening to you lot chatting. It was so, and I was in and out of consciousness. I kept waking up on my bathroom floor, like.
So which end was induced by the Let's Thrown Out chat? I'm just interested.
Both.
Oh dear.
It was pretty handy that my bath was quite near to my toilet. Let's put it that way. I was really. I've never been that ill. I've been ill before, but never like that. I didn't eat for 48 hours actually. It was horrible. And listening to you lot all laughing and joking in the background, it was like, oh my god, I can't even find the remote. I can't crawl to my bed to turn it off.
Sounds like some horrible trip.
It actually felt like I'd been drugged. It was not nice. But Jack's having it now, so tenfold. Yeah. So yeah, unlucky Jack.
Actually in hospital. So yeah.
Actually, I got into the back of the ambulance. I didn't actually get to hospital. They said if it is a bug, you're going to take it in and hurt people. So I decided to stick it out on my own and stay in, which I did. But
well done.
But Jack's actually in hospital. So anyway, let's hope they sort his brain out and maybe zip that shut. Sort him out a bit. I don't know.
He's in there for his brain, is he? Okay.
They're going to be a long while if they're in there for his bloody brain. I tell you.
I noticed, Tony, he's gone for the clean-shaven looks again. Is that staying since the Halloween evening?
I know. No beard or anything. Yeah, I just went for it and shaved it all off today. Bit different. I haven't seen my chin in 20 years, so I thought might as well have a look. Anyway, NJ, I haven't seen you for weeks. You've been, on the stage with your regatta.
Yeah, I've been super busy, which I always hate because it means the channel's a bit quiet. And if I was a little more prepared, I'd have stuff to release, which I did kind of do. I sort of stacked a load of videos up and then got so excited about releasing the videos that I just released them, because one of them was on those new battery go batteries, which are the self-discharging, which I'm still not, I'm still a little bit, I'm not skeptical, I'm just a little bit nervous of them until I've had enough time with them to see this self-discharging thing, it's time for it to prove itself, because I just don't like the idea of 20 batteries all discharging themselves, because obviously they're only doing that via heat, and it's obviously a very, very, it's being done very lightly, and we're talking about, over quite a long span of time, probably like 12 hours or more, probably way more than that actually, if you're talking about discharging a full pack. But I hope it's a really cool technology and it proves itself. And the battery side of things, they've been kicking their heels a little bit, other than just improving C ratings and batteries being able to sustain high amps. So this is kind of cool. So I'm all for it, and it'll be a good thing if it comes to other battery manufacturers, because obviously at the minute it's just Charsoon, and they've got a bit of a mixed reputation. But these cells seem decent, so you know, I've got to thrash them as soon as Hurricane, whatever we're having now, decides to leave us alone.
It is a bit mad out there.
It's horrific. Like the problem is, like, I've got review stuff ready to go, but most of the reviews I do, I like to include flight video, and I'm going to have to do a part 1, part 2, which I know probably winds people up because you don't want to get to the end of the review and then not be able to see it fly. But flying, I've got so many micros, and this weather is horrific. It's definitely not micro weather.
You know, I've lost. I did a review of this GPS drone this week, and I basically, anytime I tried to fly it, it started raining, and the frustration came out in the video. And I've actually lost subscribers because of how annoyed I was getting at the weather. And people were like, "That's it, I'm out. I'm unsubscribing. It's just the weather. Deal with it," kind of thing. So I'm glad that you have the same frustration as me, NJ, because it's been absolutely diabolical, especially today. I actually done a review today. I didn't realize it was some sort of hurricane, but I bought one of these just because of how crazy the wind be. It's a wind meter, and this read 30 mile per hour today. 30.
I flew in that today. So.
Yes, so did I. And yeah, pretty crazy. But yeah, we're not having much luck, I don't think. It's either gale force winds or rain. And I'm trying not to. Today, like I done a review of I think it's called the Diatone Tyrant S, and I was trying to not complain about the weather as hail is pelting at me whilst I'm flying. I stand when I do FPV, and the wind was actually, I'm like getting like vertigo as the wind's hitting me, and I'm trying to do a review, but I'm glad I'm glad you've said that.
No, it's true. I'm gonna obviously, when I'm exacerbating by saying a hurricane, there is no official hurricane, but if there was, we'll call it Hurricane Boring, because I'm thoroughly bored of this terrible weather we're having. No Indian. We didn't have an Indian summer. It's just gone straight to winter pretty much.
Yeah,
and it just sucks. So I was hoping to get more micro stuff done now, because it may be that it's time to hit the halls perhaps and go, you know, 3D print some flags and gates and sort of look to do that, because we've got almost no light now, and the light we do have is just as you say, peppered with terrible weather surrounding it. So yeah, it's slowing us down a little bit, but you know, do what we have to, I guess.
Did you say that the weather's the same in Europe though? It's not just us.
Do you know what? I've been in Holland for the last 10 days, and I was there this time last year, and this time last year it was literally blue skies and beautiful for the entire time I was there, which was nearly 2 weeks. I think this time we did about 10, 11 days. And this time it was literally like I took the British weather and somehow packed it in my bag, and then it jumped straight out and then some. It was horrible. You know, even the Dutch were kind of looking around going, you know, what's going on? It was horrible pretty much everywhere we were. So yeah, I couldn't do too much. I did take some drones out with me because I planned to do some flying, and in the end I think I got one late night flight around a town square with, you know, a very little town where no one was around, with one of the micros, and that was it. So I may put that up on the channel. But yeah, it's not been a lot of flying going on.
So have you had a lot of stuff building up then whilst you've been away in the post?
Yes, I've been opening boxes to see what's arrived, and I have had the stack, you know, the little purple kind of run cam stack thing that eSheen have brought out.
Yeah.
So I've got that guy to have a look at, which seems to, I see there's a few videos out on it already, but I'm going to take a nice close look at that thing. Is it called just Stack F4? Something
it's got an X in it as well, I think.
That's
hasn't it?
Stack X F4. That's it.
Something
so yeah,
like
that eSheen one. But the only thing I don't like, actually, let me just stretch to grab it. I presume it's in here because I open boxes, pull stuff out, and then that's it. It's just lost in the It's got quite a lot of cool accessories, which is nice. So you've got, you know, that's the first time I've seen one of these come with an SMA and RPSMA pigtail. So that's a smart move.
That's different.
Yeah, although, you know, who uses RPSMA? I certainly don't. I've just got tons of SMAs. So that's the
moving
chat.
over to UFL anyway, aren't they? Generally, by the looks of it.
Well, exactly. But yeah, there we go. That's the stack. So you've got a very similar kind of affair to the Split and the Split 2. But this thing, that's pretty.
It's long. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's going to only fit in certain frames. I think that's probably the biggest issue with that. But it's nice, you know, everything apart from the VTX, I think, is VTX and receiver.
I think VTX is in there, isn't it? Or am I wrong? I could be wrong.
I bet you're right. Well, of course, see, I'm being stupid. See, I'm out of practice. Of course, I've just shown you that it's got. Yes, the VTX.
Hey, just because they've given you an SMA doesn't mean there's a VTX in there.
exactly. But yes, sorry. Apart from the receiver,
they've got on there.
Yeah, there's the box. So yeah, that guy we're going to have a close look at. And the only other one that actually, let me just quickly say again. I know Bloods is in the chat. I promise I will be building the Archon. Look, I've gone and printed the GoPro mount with the immortal capture on the back. So yeah,
looks like there's enough room for an elongated camera in that frame as well.
There is, but I just know I'm going to love this. So I think this is going to be a premium only component build, that one. And then the last one, let me just quickly show you this because I think this is really cool. This is the new Diatone. You've already reviewed this, Andy, haven't you?
No, I haven't.
You haven't got this one. Okay,
no.
So this is the GT Race or
R90, I think.
R90, yeah, absolutely. So I know I can't get too good a focus on that in the red and white scheme here, but this has so much cool stuff in it. You can't really see too well there, but there's a little kind of 3D printed stack in there.
Yeah, I saw that.
And everything kind of slots into it with a little capture lug. It has a TBS Unify in there, smart audio already pre-wired, which is cool as hell. It's just got these nice little things like, I can't really get the props out of the way to see, but there's a 3D part of the 3D print has this little chute at the back for the antenna to kind of keep out the way down the bottom. They've made this little lug here for zip tying for the antenna. It's an F4 OSD, all the usual stuff you'd expect.
I can't quite see there. Is it an XT60 or 30?
It's a 30. This thing is yeah. I mean, I haven't got huge hands, but it's diddy. I mean, actually, let me just put it up next to the right. So there's your 5-inch Archon.
It's a 2-inch, yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty.
I believe it's got a built-in current sensor as well.
It does. Now, this is one of the cool things. I'm glad you brought that up. They've actually gone and put it straight on the XT30, so you can. It's going to be hard to make out, but basically that you can just about see you see the shunt on there.
Yeah.
So there's your little component for your. So that's quite a nice idea. Again, Diatone are great at stuff like that. If it just doesn't come on the board, they'll think of another way to put it on.
That must link up to a set. That must link up to a sensor on the flight controller. Then I'm guessing.
Yeah, because I think most flight controllers these days, if they don't have current sensing on board, they'll have the current sense input.
Yeah,
which this one obviously does. The only thing, this is something I'll have to do a video on, I think, is the only thing it is not that is usually terrible on these, with the exception of maybe the Matex stuff, is more often than not the calibration of the current sensors usually miles out. They never come set up calibrated well. So it's like just plugging it in without turning the motors, it's showing it's drawing 1.5 amps, which is, you know, tosh. It's not doing that at all. So there needs to be a bit of current sensor calibration done there. So I'm going to look at a few ways to try and do that as pain-free as possible.
You do that in Betaflight, messing with the
scale.
With the scale, that was it.
Yeah, because obviously it's dead easy to do the battery voltage scaling. So you just literally put a multimeter in the back of that. Well, you can use the balance port on the furthest and the ground pin of the battery, and then check what you're actually getting as a reading in Betaflight and adjust the scale till they match. But it's a little bit more boring having to set up the current sensing. But yeah, great little micro. And the one thing they've done, right, so let me just talk about very quickly.
It's quite cheap as well, NJ, I think.
It's about £145, I think.
Oh,
So
I looked today and it said 130, so maybe
okay.
it's
I'm
probably
going off,
it's probably Black Friday deals, actually, thinking
that's
about
probably
it.
what it is. So,
and if anyone sees any other Black Friday deals that they want to post in the chat, and we'll get a collection of them and share them around in a minute.
So there's one I should just talk about quickly on that subject to that micro, or micros and F4s. Be very careful going for a micro with F4, because the problem is the F4s are super sensitive, and I think there's a fair few different actual MCUs that are used with the F4s. And some of them are just way too sensitive to be hard mounted. And a prime example of that, although I've taken this one apart, was this guy, which was the SPC Maker 90 NG. And this was one that came with just incredible components. You know, it's got the micro Swift, it came with XM Plus, it's got an F4 with Boatfly OSD, D-Shot 600, blah, 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 really good micro. And I've had 3 of these and not one of them flies out the box because it just shakes itself to death because it can't deal with the vibration. And the one thing they did when putting an F4 on this Diatone, again, if you can see, is they actually soft mounted it in a really clever way. So yeah, if you're looking for any micro with an F4, if it doesn't have soft mounting, you might have some issues. You might not, but the more I'm getting of F4 micros that haven't got any kind of dampening, they've got issues, and they need some kind of soft mounting. So this is what Diatone do well, though. They take their time rather than just rushing to get something out to market. The only thing Diatone do wrong, for me anyway, and I've reviewed pretty much everything Diatone have put out quad-wise, is they always put terrible props on their quads, and they always supply them with terrible props. And they did the same with this. They're some bull-nosed, terribly inefficient, and not very nice flying tri-blades, and I swapped those out for the Gem Fan 2-inch, and it's night and day difference. So, but I'm fine with that being the only weakness of Diatone, because that's the cheapest thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. You tend to swap out. You tend to swap those out anyways on any model, I find. So it's a disposable part of the quad for me, the props.
Absolutely. So yeah. So that's all the goodies I have for now. Oh, there's a few others, but
I've seen we've got HPI guy in the chat who's the Drone Racing Manchester at the moment. So
awesome.
If anyone's up north and fed up of the weather, then it might be worth a bit of a trip to Manchester and fly indoors for a bit. They've got
I believe it's a permanent venue they've got there.
Yeah.
Not too far from me. I might need to check that out.
That's
you
cool.
have to go over and do a on-site review for us.
I'm not sure about that. You imagine how everyone's just minding their business and I turn up with a camera? I don't think so.
BSM Web, BSM Web, Mikey Dread. Who we got else? We got Zero as ever. Harry Haggis is in there. Richard Harwood, Davey Boy. We've got, I think Jack's even chatting on the chat. So hello, Jack. You're obviously not that ill.
Scrapes of data. Yeah.
Scotty FPV. Normal guys, thanks for tuning in, you lot. Love it, the fact that you tune into us.
Do you want to give your shout out, Tony, for your channel?
Mine is I'm 20 people away from 500 subscribers. Nothing like NJ and Andy, but mine is just flying, boring videos. But if I could get another 20, I would love to get 500.
What you want to do, Tony, right, is to get your 20. You want to find a bridge and
find what? I didn't hear that. You broke up.
Find a bridge.
To find a bridge with lots of moving cars on it. Take your quadcopter
and dive it,
and then whilst you're doing it, call the police and give them your location.
Okay.
And you'll be an internet sensation.
I'll do that.
Around school run times, we get a few school buses.
Yeah, that's it. School run time.
Do
It's
it
a bit
upwind.
different though, isn't it? I mean, just watching someone fly around a field or fly at a racetrack, I know it's different. I mean, to you guys, like you do proper reviews and it's worth subscribing to you, but I just want to have 20 more to hit that 500. Be great. But there you go.
But
Anyway.
talking about the reviews, it seems like Ash that we've had on once or twice now from joining on, he's had a bit of a rough time recently.
He's got a really nice subscriber on his channel, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's getting. I mean, you've had problems, Andy, with people claiming to be you.
Yeah.
Ash has got this problem where he's got someone just hurling abuse at him by the sounds of it. In the comments on his videos, saying that he's trying to, he's just sort of threatening him for having got stuff sent to him to review, so it's for free, and he doesn't like that idea. But yeah, it's not a lot of fun for him. So
it happens to me daily, that sort of thing. You know, you just have to brush it off, or otherwise you just get caught up in it. Sometimes it affects me, but the easiest thing that you can do when someone does that, I find, is don't ban them, just delete their comment every time, because they're wasting their time then as well, because it's just don't reply to them, just delete the comments. That's the best thing to do. Oh, I've had all sorts. I've had somebody find my full name and address and them email it to me and say if I don't send them free copters, then they're going to publish my name and address online. And
Wow.
Holy shit.
People are nasty, aren't they?
Oh yeah, people are. Yeah, it's
Wow.
for the amazing amount of people, which is the majority. There's a couple. There'll always be a couple of bad eggs out there, sadly.
yeah, it's a shame, but you know, hopefully.
Anyway, Andy lives at number 32.
Yeah.
It's funny because people think like getting stuff for free is it's the best thing in the world, but it's not for free. You get it, and you have to pick it apart. You have to spend, you know, a couple of days researching all of the features. I mean, MJ will tell you it's when you get stuff for free. I mean, for me, it stopped becoming free stuff a long time ago, and it becomes work, and people don't.
But didn't you spent a lot of money yourself building your channel by buying your own stuff first before you started getting
people always say that to me. That's like a question I get. How do you get free stuff? And I never started my channel with the intention of getting free stuff. It's just that was what happened. I started my channel as I imagine a lot of people do, as a hobby, as a distraction, something for me to do. And I ended up in a situation where I ended up basically spending a lot of my savings on. I realized that, like, you know, life's too short, and I started buying stuff that I just wanted, quadcopters and stuff, and I would take like just one or two quadcopters and modify them crazy, and of course all the other people who bought them, that's their only copter, they all were also interested, and at first it just started off as flight videos, and people would say, oh, how did you do that? How did you do that? It was quicker for me to make a video. And then eventually when you get to like 1,000 subscribers, you'll start getting interest. I never reached out to anyone for free stuff, and I never do. That's how that scammer sort of took advantage of me, really, because they proactively went out, pretended to be me, and contacted people, because it's not something that I do. So I would say if you're starting a channel purely to get free stuff, personally I would say it's the wrong way to go about it. You should do it because you love it and it's a hobby, and anything that you get for free, then that's a bonus, I would say.
Why don't you do a video, Andy, of how long and how much effort it takes you to do a review? So do a video of yourself
behind the scenes.
Like setting it up and doing it all like this is me. Like alarm going off at 5, you getting up because I know you get up early to do it, and then like a video
go to bed at 5 a.m.
shoulder, like this is me doing this, and then like getting angry, and I don't know that you get angry, but you know,
I do get angry.
Well, I want to see that now.
I've thought
'Cause
about doing that, Tony. It's funny. I've been asked to do that. I just don't know how interesting it is. Maybe on a rainy day, I've thought about it, and
I think it would be quite interesting because people like think, oh yeah, you get 3 things and that's it. You just say this and that, but you could like this is how hard it is to do this. This is
Especially
like,
the editing as well.
yeah.
I think it's such a dynamic thing, to be honest with you. I've had days where I could just the reviews, everything's gone well and it's got out the door in maybe like a couple of hours. I've got everything together, and then there's some things. To be honest, it's mostly my freestyle where I've decided I'm going to do a freestyle compilation or a freestyle flight, and I start syncing the cut to music and obsessing over the edit. Those things can take like 6 hours, so they can take even longer than that. But the most stressful it gets, I think, is probably like the most times you'll hear me swear or curse is usually when I'm recording and I just do this one golden take of talking through all the points that I want to, and I'll hear some idiot outside going on their, like, you know, on their Kawasaki go absolutely blasting past the door, and I'll literally like feel like opening the window and screaming at them.
I want a behind the scenes NJ as well.
Oh, I'm sure I've got some outtakes I could put up.
Takes,
There'd be a lot of bleeping.
That's what it should be called, outtakes of you two swearing and beeping and stuff like that.
I mean, hours worth there at least.
I mean, NJ just showed that he received 3 SPC makers, and that's not, well, it's partly by accident, but it's also because none of them flew. And I imagine that wasn't a load of fun trying to figure that out.
No.
Absolutely. Well, as you know, we've problem solved a few things together, haven't we, Andy? And there's times where you'll spend more time trying to sort out issues on something that should have taken like an hour to get done and dusted, and you could lose a whole day trying to figure out a problem. And at the end of the day, I've worked back to where you started. At which point you're just tearing your hair out. So
we spent about an hour and a half to 2 hours on a model called the GPRC Sparrow, because two of the motors wouldn't run. You know, so yeah, it's
nice quad though.
Oh yeah, very nice. Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah,
that's what
we're talking about for those who are still haven't checked it out. The little Sparrow. Very beastly motors, and it does fly with a GoPro.
Yeah, huge amount of power, that one. They're seeing a lot of 3-inch models coming my way at the moment, which is nice because I really like them.
What about Andy? Have you got your iRange IRX appearing yet?
No, but I think it's coming December, actually, maybe beginning of December. But yeah, it looks interesting. It looks really interesting. I don't know. It's a multi-protocol transmitter that looks very similar to a very popular black sheep product.
Yes, it does look a little on the TBS Tango side of things compared to, you know, pretty much anything else. I suggested maybe they could argue that it's kind of following the lines of the Parrot Bebop, or something like that. You know, it's not the only controller that looks that way with, you know, sticks on either side or a big screen, but it does look quite like a TBS Tango. So we'll see what Trappy has to say about that. But in any case, it looks like an interesting radio, if only on the multi-protocol side of things, having an option other than a Devo 7 or something like that.
Yeah, because there was the transmitter that came out. I think it was called the Jumper or something like that, which it was another multi-protocol TX, costs about £60, and that runs Deviation TX. So I don't know if you're not familiar with Deviation TX, but Deviation TX, it's open source Walkera based a bit of firmware, and it was a group of chaps that realized that you could basically hack the Walkera range of transmitters, so the Devo 7E, I think the Devo 10, and what they do is they put their own firmware on there called Deviation TX. They mod the TX, so add different protocol chips. There's about 4 in total, and then you put the Deviation TX firmware on there. They actually take the little cheap quadcopters mostly, and so like the Hubsons and the SEMA X5s, and they port the protocol because they all come with slightly different protocols. Then you can go in these nightly builds and install it on your TX, and then you can basically control any toy grade quadcopter via your Deviation TX.
I've actually got in my Tyrannus a multi-protocol chip. I don't know if you can see it there.
Yeah, that's the NRF something or other.
It's a collection of them again.
Oh, okay.
It's by Gerbish, who's French, guy. I think he's French. Pretty sure.
He has a lot to do with Deviation TX. That guy.
Yeah, so he kind of made his own little PCB that all these things go on, just so it fits in the JR module, and it works just through the PPM output that the Tyrannus puts out for any JR module, as far as I can tell. So yeah, I can do my Hubson and Cheerson CX10 and all the little toy stuff through that way, and I think. Well, I've got a kit to make a similar thing that would also do the Spectrum stuff as well, which you can
now buy an iRange multi-protocol module now. Okay. And Lee from Painless 360 was showing me actually you can actually using OpenTX go through all of the models like you can in Deviation TX. So you can select SEMA, you can select Hubson and Bayang toys and everything like that. So anyway, the reason I'm mentioning that is I'm hoping that this Tango style TX has got Deviation TX on it, because if it does, that will be really interesting, I think, for everyone. So we'll have to see what it's like. All I've got at the moment is an order through Banggood, so it's not showing as shipped, and I believe it's going to ship December. NJ, have you seen this TX? Have you got one on the way?
No, I haven't. It sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
Have you seen as well, while we're on the subject of radios, the F-port protocol that was it's been mentioned in a couple of places this week? That FR Sky and the guys over at Betaflight have been working on a new protocol for their receivers.
I saw
Interesting.
That.
So it's
why does everything happen in the week I'm away? Like all the cool stuff's happening. Like, this is not cool.
That's just the amount of stuff that happens in a week. It's been quite a quiet week, I would say, to be honest. But we're managing to find stuff still. So yeah, I saw that. I was reading it's to try and compete with Crossfire. Was that right?
Well, it's matching some of the features of the Crossfire protocol. So this isn't the protocol doing the radio stuff. This is the protocol between the receiver and the flight controller. So
yeah,
the particularly people are finding now that the micro Crossfire stuff is a bit more accessible and a bit more affordable, and people have been using those, that actually the protocol between the receiver and the flight controller is quite a lot better in a few ways. And they're trying to kind of, I think by the sounds of it, FR Sky got a bit twitchy about this and decided they should probably do something. So they've teamed up with Betaflight and got this new protocol. So the big feature of it is that instead of having one UART on the flight controller doing the taking sort of the receiver information in on half of it, and then having a whole second separate UART doing the smart port telemetry back into the receiver, instead they've combined the two so that it can use just one UART to do both directions of transmission between the flight controller and the receiver. So you get a whole UART freed up, which could be nice. I don't know what effect.
Interesting to know what the latency reduction is. I mean, all these things, all these things help. All these little tiny latency improvements. I mean, as I said, and I'm sure Paul Bitmart will be able to testify this, and Thomas, is that I just didn't honestly think I'd feel a noticeable difference between S-Bus and the Crossfire telemetry, and I totally did.
Yeah,
I
agree.
We're down in milliseconds here, and arguably you shouldn't, but I definitely felt it. So all those little things are winning back something.
Yeah.
But
because the interesting thing is this is all purely in the firmware on the receiver. So because I mean it's going to be written into Betaflight, and that's going to come out fairly shortly. But it's going to be firmware that you upload onto your receiver, so it updates previous receivers that you already own.
Well, that'll be good.
Yeah, so receivers that have the STM32 chip in it, I think. So that's the XSR and the X4 RSB, and probably a couple of others as well.
Hopefully the new tiny one that I've just bought.
XM Plus, was it, Tony?
Smaller than that.
The RXSR is the latest one, I think. I don't know if that has that chip, but we'll find out. I'm sure.
Definitely, I can definitely notice it though, because I flew my I put it on my Revo, which is what I call my freestyle quad, and I flew that like the weekend, and then went flying racing with the normal setup XSR, and like I was hitting gates and thinking, why is it not there yet? What's going on? It was really, really weird, and I was thinking, I'm getting dropouts. What's going on? Something's happening. I've got to sort my antennas out, and I come in and landed, and then I was thinking, well, actually, it's from flying the Crossfire a couple of days before. That's how much difference it's got.
Do you know what?
It was really amazed. Weird, really weird.
I'm amazed how many people forget when I help others set up as well, is that something like the XM Plus, which you're running in D16 mode, you don't have to automatically leave it using all 16 channels. Chop it down to 8 channels, which is more than enough. You've got your 4 main, and you've got maybe 1 for RSSI, and then 3 to muck around with for switches and stuff, and you get your latency reduced even more there. And it amazed me how many people had, they're maybe using 5-6 channels, a couple of switches and the 4 standard, but on the receiver they've actually set it up so that all 16 are being used. Like chop it down. So yeah, there's lots of little ways to win back the that little bit of latency. But I mean, Crossfire for me is, as you say, it's just more accessible now with that micro TX thing, and I'm surprised actually that's probably been since I released it. I think that's been one of my most popular videos. Is that Crossfire setup video has just gone nuts. So there's clearly a lot of people jumping onto that bandwagon for exactly the reason you said. It's now more accessible, it's cheaper, and it's it's the full Crossfire setup really. So yeah, great, all great on that front, I think.
Yeah.
I've done a mile flight with mine. It's quite
I saw
nice.
that, Tony. That was incredible. I thought you were going to fly out to the sea and back.
I'm going to push it further. Unfortunately, Bradders, who I flew with on that day, had all these quads nicked out of his van. So I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was. He had someone took his clear view, ground station is on both quads, so, and his GoPro and everything. So it was like $2,000 worth of stuff gone. So it was not nice. But yeah, we flew a mile, and we could have done more, and I'm looking forward to pushing it that bit further. It was nice, but yeah, as I say, going from Crossfire back to my racing quads, everything seems so slow. So now I'm thinking, right, I need to update all my racing quads to Crossfire, or just before I go racing, go out with or don't fly my Crossfire stuff, because
this is the thing, isn't it? It's the same with the gimbals. It's the same with all this fancy stuff. You don't think it's a problem until you try something better, and then all of a sudden you need it.
I didn't think I'd be able to feel it, because I'm getting on a bit. Like when Paul BSM Webb's Thomas flew, and he said, "Oh, I could definitely feel it. It's faster." I thought, "Oh, that's because he's younger and stuff like that." But I definitely can tell. So it's definitely definitely a thing.
Another thing on a similar note is that the other thing that I've completely converted to, which I'm now struggling with because I'm moving over to the X10. I've kind of fallen in love with that transmitter. I think it's great. The one thing I'm missing on my trusty X9D, out of all of that, guess what I'm missing? Is this guy, the short throw, throttle with the race gimbal. Now, everyone thought that wasn't actually a big difference, but I'm so happy with being able to get top and bottom as a pincher anyway.
Yeah, I'm a pincher.
I find, I've actually found a couple of times I've been like, this feels like it's not quite got the power on the X10, and then realized that my muscle memory is used to this, and I wasn't actually going to the top of the throttle back on the standard gimbals on the X10. So yeah, that's quite an interesting thing. What is even more interesting, I don't know if I've talked about this before or not, but I had a chat with someone who was commented on my review video on this, because we sort of had a chat about resolution, and the way the resolutions worked out on this is it's a hex number. But what we worked out was that the actual resolution of this stick was exactly the same resolution. It was actually the same resolution as a normal full throw X9 gimbal, one of the hall sensor gimbals that you get for this. Well, same as this one on this side. So the race one, even though it was kind of being touted as having the same resolution over a shorter throw, actually wasn't. But you still get I think it's 1,300 steps we managed to work out between here and here, and all Betaflight needs is 1,000 steps. Let me know when I'm boring you all. But you need, as long as you get 1,000 steps of resolution, you're good for Betaflight, and this does actually get you about 1,300 steps of resolution, and you get slightly more than that on one of these. So on the standard hall sensor gimbal. So once you sorted that out, what we found out is actually the only difference between this and this is, I thought it was the stopper position. So there's a stopper back there, like a plastic stopper that stops it so you have like 45 degrees of throw. It's not actually the stopper, it's actually the amount of backfill in the plate. So if you wanted a race gimbal, all FR Sky actually needed to do was just sell the plates. And if you've already got one of these, you just swap the plate out, and all of a sudden you've got basically the cavity behind it has more fill in it, and it stops the stopper that's on the barrel will stop earlier because of the backfill in the plate. So you could 3D print yourself something to fill in the back of the standard plates and get the same effect. Again, I might look into that because I'm missing this, and they're not available for the X10 at the minute. There are no race gimbals, but I want that 45-degree throw on the throttle back. So yeah, I'll look into doing that. But yeah, cheeky tip, you can actually just you actually only need the plate, not the whole gimbal.
There's quite a big difference there.
Yeah.
There's been something that's popped up in the chat a couple of times. I don't know if anyone's well up on this. Snake FPV.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Not good.
So what I've heard so far is that he had a fire. I don't think it was lipo caused or in any way related. But
caused by a TV, I believe, an old TV.
Yeah, but by the sounds of it, it totaled everything.
Yeah.
Does anyone know any more about it than I do?
I know Chad and a few others didn't want to talk about it until he went public. They all knew beforehand. I think there's a GoFundMe.
Yeah,
if anyone can find it and link it
in the chat.
If it's in the chat, it'd be nice. But
I checked it earlier, and it was at about 16,000 of a $40,000 target. So people have jumped on helping straight away. So I mean, if that was it earlier today, I'm sure they'll reach the goal pretty quick. So great community.
Have put in 16 grand for him. I mean, did he not have house insurance?
I think he did, but he was in the process because he's just moved house, and swapping the insurance was kind of one of those next on the list things to do. And the law of sod did what it always does. And
well, I hope the community help him. It'd be nice.
Well, they definitely are, which is great. So
maybe Bradders should have done that.
Yeah.
Help me hide stuff stolen. GoFundMe,
Get
Bradders.
your 500 subscribers on it, Tone. Get a GoFundMe set up on it. And we'll,
Help Bradders.
yeah, that's
Talking of
still.
Bradders, he got his chameleon stolen, but he wanted to replace it, but he's going to wait for the Rooster. Has anyone heard about the Rooster? What a great name for a new frame.
I've heard a little bit. Yeah, I just heard that there was a frame called the Rooster, and that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's made by Hartman. Hartman. I don't know how to
Armattan,
say
yeah.
it. Hartman. Pretty good by the looks of it. Bit better than Chameleon, and I think he's going to wait out. I think it's going to go on sale in December, but it's looking like quite a nice frame to buy.
Is it just a straight X again, or a stretch, or anything, or?
I think it's I think it's the same, just a bit more beefed up. Apparently, Brad has sent me videos of the guy hammering the front, so it can't bend. You know, there was people having problems with the front end FPV camera bit bending. You know, the nice bit of the front.
The aluminium cage at the front, did have a tendency to do this.
Yeah.
I remember Tom Smith actually a few days after having his posting up one on his Insta of the whole cage kind of off to the side. But I think the biggest problem was it just missed a few more kind of lateral struts, which I think people did as a modification, and it strengthened that up, and it was fine after that. But yeah, I haven't actually seen the Rooster, so I'll be interested to have a look.
What a great name for a quad, eh?
Yeah, but Paul BMS Webb just said, "I want the chicken next."
The other thing that I saw this week was the FAI leaderboard. I believe Adam Gooch is currently the top ranking UK pilot on there at the moment. So it sounds like maybe
go Gooch.
Yeah, he's doing well. There's a lot of Swiss guys and Polish guys and all sorts of people on there, and it's kind of an interesting read to see kind of all the events that have been going on that have been FAI registered. So for people that don't know, the FAI is like the world kind of official body for all aero sports. So everything from pylon racing, so there's like Red Bull races, up to air balloons, gliders, all sorts of things. And then you sign up and you get a license, and then it means that your points from these international events go towards that. So I think the ones in the UK were, I think was Western Park one of them. I think maybe, and I think there might have been one or two others. But yeah, that's an interesting one, and so it's them that are going to be organising the international event next year in Shenzhen, which is the event I mentioned a few weeks ago now, that the BMFA are probably going to sponsor a team, all expenses paid, to go over and represent Great Britain
That would be
in
nice.
that. So yeah, extra incentive to get involved with the racing scene next year. So get practicing.
NJ, get practicing.
Yeah.
You got your race gimbals. Come on.
I'm pretty pretty mediocre at racing. I'm more down the freestyle side.
Like, you could easily race.
I might be tempted into it. I'd really like to do some indoor race, like the micro stuff. I'm really keen for the micro side to take off. Ha ha ha! What a great joke. But they're so good now. They fly so well. They're so agile. I just feel like the micro thing on the race front deserves some space, or it should do soon. So I'd be up for that for racing the micros. But I'll be in any race as long as I know it's not a class where Thomas Bitmarter's in.
Well, you just get your arse handed to you, wouldn't you?
Yes, there's any other way to put it. So yeah, let's jump on a class before Thomas gets hold of it. But yeah, I'd like to see the micro racing thing get some attention, because it's more manageable, isn't it? I think More of us
What?
could abuse a small local hall and
Yeah,
quickly
I
set
went
it
to
up. And,
Dartford. Dartford have got a nice little. There's a guy down in Dartford who's got a big warehouse, and he sets up normally like the weekends or a Wednesday night. And it's quite big. I mean, guys were flying 5-inch in there, no problem. And I flew my little 2-inch push-on prop micro quad in there, and I had a hell of a good fun in there. I really, really enjoyed it. It was good fun. So yeah, I'm all for micros as well. They fly really. Actually, my Dan Upton 2-inch push-on prop micro quad is probably my favourite and probably my best flying quad, to be honest.
I want to know when they're going to do reverse, not reverse, but like
Flying back.
inverted props for the push-on props. That seems like, because I have so many that just fly off and ping off, and it's
I
really
never
annoying.
fly off. I've never had any fly off. I crashed in my video of the Dartford one. I crashed into a gate and
I guess it's the motors, isn't it? The prop shaft, whether it's the right one for the props. So I guess it's probably the prop shaft on this is not to the right tolerance or whatever.
What do you mean when you say push on? As in props that don't have any screws in? What?
Yeah, they literally plastic with a hole in and the shaft of the motor, and you just push them on.
What size are we talking? 2-inch? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it also depends how long the shaft, because some of them aren't very long, the shaft of the motor, and it depends on the prop as well. I find some props push on and they're fine, and others are quite loose, and some of them screw
the
in.
Gemfan 2-inch, really good.
Yeah, those ones are really tight, but they have the holes to put screws on. Though, are you saying your motors don't have holes?
Yeah, the motors are brushless, but they're not ready for that.
Interesting. I've not seen that. All of the 2-inch motors I've seen have all got the 4 holes in, so you can screw them in. I always tend to screw them in just in case one pings off or anything. But yeah, I've had ones that have been fine, and I haven't used screws on them.
You can have fun with a 2-inch, lads.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the 1-inch class.
Yeah. I think that'd be good.
No comment.
So the other thing I thought that was cool with that little Diatone is that one actually comes with the prop guards as well. So if I was going to do some indoor racing and wanted to go for it, just because you're going to start hitting stuff and it's walls and floors and things that aren't going to be as accommodating as soft grass, then that's cool. I'd definitely put those on and it'd probably be fine. I mean, it'd probably crash the life out of it and not have a problem for the whole evening.
Yeah,
I think the small quads really need a really good camera, because all the inside flying, like the lights reflecting on shiny floors and things like that.
That one comes with a 600 TV line CCD, so it's just like a full size camera we use on a 5-inch. So.
Is it a micro Swift NJ on that, or is it their own version?
Not. It's their own version.
Interesting.
And it does look like the actual PCB layout looks different to me. This doesn't look like it's a clone of a Swift at all. So yeah, interesting. Yeah, be interesting to see what the colours and what the wide dynamic range is like on it. But I'm sure Diatone don't tend to just let one component let down the team. They put all of that into the prop division.
Do you have to remove the motors to get the protectors on? Because I saw that model advertised with prop protectors on it, so I think that's why I didn't recognize it at first. So do you have to have different screws for the motors, etc.?
So it comes with, can you see these kind of plastic?
Yeah.
You basically unscrew those, which are the bottom of the motors, and you swap that out for the prop protector. Actually, it's typical Diatone. It's just got bags and bags of accessories. But actually, there you go. That's the. I don't know if you can see, but actually, there's the original props, which you can see. They're just nothing says noise and inefficiency like an actual square tip. Like they're just terrible.
Do you know what? Are those the HQ props?
I don't know. They've got quite an interesting camber to them, but yeah, I
Oh
mean,
no, I've seen those props, but
they're,
no, I don't think they're the
they're
HQ ones.
awful, are very noisy, and obviously very noisy props are a great sign of incredibly
Well,
inefficient.
it's proper bull nose, that is, isn't it?
But yeah, you get those to put on, and these are decent, and they're quite sort of, you know, squashy, and like these feel like they're going to last. And yeah, you replace those for that, and you've got your prop guard. So yeah, for indoor stuff, that pretty much keep you going on the same set of props all night.
Paul says that Thomas is already building a 2-inch racer. Just saying, that's what he's put.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm out right on the 1-inch.
Yeah, 1-inch class.
Yeah.
Can we
I've
get
just one little thing that I just remembered.
on then,
Last
everybody.
Friday, there was a post by DSK Distribution, who are up in Cumbria. There's a job going up there, FPV technician in customer service. So, you know, if anyone's looking to actually work in FPV full time, then there's a job going up there. Might be worth having a look. So that's DSK Distribution.
Hmm.
There you go.
Well done. I would not like to do that.
Why not, Tony?
Because I got a memory like a sieve, mate. Honestly, I put Betaflight on and then go, what's happened? I can't remember anything. I just like flying. That's all. I hate building. I hate repairing. I really don't like doing anything. Mind you, I've just got my new stretched X going, and wow, it was really, really nice. I mean, me and the guy who designed it, it's mainly his design. He worked.
Just your name on it.
He worked for Armattan beforehand, and I know him, and I just said, look, can you help me? I want to do this, and he helped me design my racing quads. I just said, look, I want them this, I want this on it, I want this, and he done all the hard work basically. And then I said, I really want a stretched X to try, and we stretched it more than normal, and flew it today and yesterday, and it's just so nice. It was really, really weirdly, it just flows really nice around bends. I think it must be just the clean air it grabs, you know, rather than the X.
Oh, yeah.
It just feels really nice.
There is definitely a feel difference with a stretched X as opposed to a pure X, or even where you have the front and rear arms closer together, kind of a sideways stretched X, if you like, which is again, there's a feel difference to all of these things, but there is definitely something about having the props in more clean air. That is without doubt. To be honest with you, that is the one thing I would say to all frame manufacturers is don't bring the props as close to the body as possible to try and keep within a certain size. Like, just afford that little extra space to get the prop that little bit further away from the body, because the way the wash interacts and how the airflow works around that prop against the side of the body, this is also one of the big reasons why we don't put side panels on quads anymore, because the side panels on quads would cause all kinds of problems. It would cause the quad to yaw and kick out, and these were all basically because these props were too close to the body. So
yeah, I remember the QAV remember they put the things down the side. They released them bits,
The walls,
and then the QAV was getting yaw twitches. The QAV 250. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I mean, I've tried quads. I've tried builds like 6-inch builds with the with 5-inch props, and I've just found they fly so much better than having the 5-inch, especially on builds. There were certain frames I've had where the prop has been so super close to the body, and there's definitely some issues with airflow when you put the edge of the prop right next to the body like that. So I always think it doesn't have to be much, but just put a little bit of a gap in there, and it can really make a difference.
Well, I over gapped it, and it just feels so smooth. I mean, On a tight track, I don't think it'd be good, but on a nice open, big, long, swoopy track, the tracks that I like, it just flies so smooth. It was really nice. I mean, I've only put probably 6 or 7 batteries for it. I'm not even fully tuned it, but it just it feels really smooth.
I mean, there's this other argument as well for the stretched X, which is that by having the props further out the front and further out the back, when it's tilted forward, you've got the back props further away from the dirty air of the props in front, but it's higher. But then you'd have the problem would be worse in different directions and in reverse. You'd have other ways that would be less advantageous. So I always think those kind of arguments are a little bit they're a little bit moot for me. But it depends what you're doing, I guess. If you're always going forward and you're always and you're racing, for instance, I think there probably is some advantage to Stretch X in terms of clean, just going in a straight line as fast as possible. I'm sure there is an advantage there over a standard X configuration where the front and rear props are right next to each other. It would have an advantage if they're out like this and there's more clean air between the two. So
it felt lovely. It felt really nice. Really like I got a nice flow to it. It was good. If you could get on a big wide American track or a big track you enjoy and put some get some memory into that track, you could have a really nice flow to that track.
I think the argument with the stretched X is like the counter argument is that the arms have to be longer, therefore there's more weight in the frame. The arms are longer to reach further out, otherwise the props would touch. So I think that's the counter argument for a stretched X, is that,
and it'll also be spread further from the center of mass, so you'll have more inertia when you try and
that
spin.
But then you have more leverage
back
because of the distance from the fulcrum. You've got more leverage.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things you'd probably go.
You could argue all day.
Yeah.
Well, all I can say is that it definitely feels different, and it definitely feels more flowy, like a more
inertia is mr squared, isn't it? So it's going to be quadratic compared to the.
Oh Jesus!
The force.
Aren't they all quadratic?
My kind of podcast.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It felt natural.
What we need someone from McLaren in a wind tunnel to tell us what the best is, because we're just blokes in sheds trying to guess.
Well, there is that.
I have a friend who does actually work for a company that supply parts for Williams, and they print the parts. They have incredibly expensive printers that print parts for.
That's what we do.
So, okay. So, yeah, there's our access. Well, if you get us access, just take the key off the manager. We'll borrow the wind tunnel for a bit. The spec machine.
Funnily enough, we probably could do when they're out around the world, because everything goes very quiet. When the team is out, then they've got like a few things they'll do.
Andrew, they're so doing this. That thing probably rents.
Be an LDO live event.
What does it rent for? Like £1 million an hour normally?
Probably something like that.
Yeah, sneak us in there. Oh, I'd be in heaven.
Yeah, that'd be an entertaining one.
I've actually got a mod. I talked about it before. That's molded carbon. This is it. And you might have seen it before.
Ooh. Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, a couple of my friends have just got that.
It's called the.
Where
I like the name FURC. They're called. And yeah, I was. That's it. This one's interesting as well because it's UD carbon. Have you ever heard of that?
UD.
Yeah. That stands for, I believe, unidirectional, and there's actually no weave on it. It's not going to come through on the camera, but it's carbon fiber, but it's completely flat. There's no carbon weave.
Oh, so
I've
it's
seen
just
video.
marketing.
I've seen the videos of them getting run over by Land Rovers. Is that the video? Is that the same company?
I'm not sure, but apparently it's the best type of carbon that there is. I mean, I don't know. Apparently it goes 3K, 12K, and then UD, and this is UD. But it's all black. There's no weave. It doesn't look very interesting, but apparently very expensive to mold it
Obviously.
like that, because it's
Yeah.
actually molded. Yeah,
You need to run it over with a car before I watch your review of that.
before you'll
You
buy
got to
it.
run it over. Run it over with an Integra.
It's quite an expensive frame, so I don't think I'll be doing that.
No. Damn. I'm really enjoying your videos now, Andy. Your
Only
review
now.
video. No. Your review videos, and then you do a nice flying to music at the end of it.
Oh yeah, I do that
Best bit.
sometimes. I do that sometimes.
I like that.
Yeah, I like to show the full product with a full flight, because I think one thing that's easy to do is like when you're doing like reviews is it's easy to like just cut the best bits, but if you show a full flight of the entire thing, then I find it's like there's nothing to hide. I think that's one of the big problems like that you get as a reviewer, or accused of, oh, you're being biased or whatever. But even if you're being biased, I think if you show things and you haven't picked up on them, people can still see it in a full flight video. So that I like to do that. Some people say it's boring, but I like to do it.
I like it.
Thanks.
I especially like it when NJ does it, because then I go, oh bollocks, he's better than me. Get lost.
Oh, and NJ's an awesome pilot. Yeah.
Oh my
You
god!
don't see all the fails. I don't cut those in.
We were there. You were flying backwards. That was impressive.
Yeah,
Flying
I remember
backwards.
that. I took my goggles off for that.
Yeah, Tony's face when you're just doing like.
It dropped, didn't it? I
It
wasn't into freestyle then, which I'm quite enjoying freestyle now. But yeah, a year ago when NJ come down to LDO games and he done his bits of music, I thought I'll watch this through the goggles, and I started watching it, and then he started flying backwards in an arc and then flicking it backwards like in a figure of eight backwards. I was like, how is he doing that?
I think somewhere I've got the video.
Oh yeah,
I'll have to look back on it.
I'd love to
I
see
might look at
that.
it and think it's terrible now.
Put that up. I'd love to see it.
So
Yeah,
good.
I'm sure it's somewhere archived. But yeah, that was
When you
fun.
say backwards flying, are you talking about the Matty stunt style, where you sort of do a sort of front loop and come back on yourself, or is it something completely different?
I think this was actually like just sustained backwards.
It was a yaw. You went into some kind of yaw, forward into some kind of yaw, and then you made it go backwards. Yaw it. I've done it a couple of times since watching that video, but not as good as you. But I have done it.
Yeah,
But
a lot of these things you just go for it until it keep doing it until it starts to make sense,
Yeah.
and then it will. Yeah.
I need to go and practice
becomes
more. I'm really enjoying freestyle at the moment, but it's just getting the practice in.
It's just the weather for me. I'd love
That's
to be
another
able to fly.
thing. It is the weather. Apparently this weekend's going to be nice. Well, actually, I'm looking out and it's raining. So that's actually not good. I think the this weekend's going to be cold. Cold's always good.
Cold but dry, I believe.
I can do
What
cold
happens
and
cold?
dry and frosty and stuff like that.
You want to be careful, Tony.
The
People
wind stays.
they'll start unsubscribing if we keep complaining about the weather.
Audio channel.
Well, we'll have to like go to places like Drone Racing Manchester, and I assume UKDS Nottingham's still going, right? I haven't heard anything otherwise.
I don't think it is. Is it?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything from them guys for a little
No,
while.
just look them up, find out what's going on with them.
What's the state of affairs with sorry, random side thing here. But what's the state of affairs with Hidden Valley? Do we know any more?
it's still in kind of legal limbo at the moment.
Still on my knees praying every night at the end of my bed. I am.
Yeah, and the chances are that it won't come back in the same form that it has done for quite a while yet, by the sounds of it. But so me and Dom went and scoped out a potential replacement spot nearby, ish, on a national scale, and that looked like we could do something there. But I've been trying to organize, because they've got an indoor space there as well as a bar and a couple of pubs and all sorts of things.
LDO games, Mark II.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've been trying to get hold of them again to organize an indoor event over the winter. So if I get anywhere with that, I will let people know.
That means Andy will have to travel.
I think I'll be fine for that. So what is called the LDO Games was this that you did last time?
Yeah, we did that last. Was that a year ago?
The LDO drone games. So there's a few videos on YouTube of now. I think
I need to look that up.
Searched it. So
they'll make you compete in something, Andy. By the way, like I had no intention of entering the freestyle.
Yeah,
and then I just hear it announced. NJ Tech's gonna fly. I was like, am I?
I'm quite good at the sack race. If you want to set that up.
Well, we did the vegan spoon race.
We did egg and spoon. Yeah.
Oh man, I was joking.
No, we did. We sellotaped spoons, wooden spoons to our front of our copters and flew a tomato.
There you go. There's my competition then.
Did we do that the tomato flinging competition? So the backflip, it would just fling the tomato as far as possible.
So it started off with the race. So Tony managed to make a whole lap and keep the tomato on the spoon. Then it was someone, I think it must have been Clinton, worked out that you could do barrel rolls with it, and
that was extras. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, keep it on the spoon while doing that, and he was doing like triple rolls and keeping it on there. So that became a thing that everyone was doing, and then it was we're bored of these, we'll just fling them as far as we can with a backflip.
Yeah, that's great.
And then we had so many tomatoes over, and it was raining hard. We had Lunchbox quad flying, and then we were all trying to get Lunchbox out of the sky.
Because again, British weather. It started raining. Luckily, Boston was there and had his Tupper quad. So it was literally, it had a servo on it with a windscreen wiper on a servo tester. So it was just looping back and forth on the inside of this. It might be in the outside of the Tupperware box that was their frame. And so the camera had this little windscreen wiper going back and forth as it was flying through the rain.
It was so cool.
I remember I was just waking up at that time in my tent, and I just heard a voice say, "Put your goggles on." So I was like, the goggles on, like clearing my eyes, and all I could see was these little windscreen wipers doing this across the camera feed.
Well, we were just like lobbing tomatoes at it.
We were trying to hit it out of the sky with tomatoes. That was good.
It was a good day.
This has to happen again, definitely. It was great fun.
Valley.
Yeah, we need to get everyone down. Everyone in the chat has to come.
Oh, that'd be such a good meeting. Imagine everyone in the chat coming down. I mean, Mr. Frost come down last year from Scotland and come and said hello to us lot.
I think
mini air show. So
I think now if we did mini air show again with a bit more know-how and a bit more planning and a bit less last-minute rush trying to do everything while avoiding all the legal stuff that there was on at Hidden Valley last time, which made everything hell to organize anything. So we didn't even know, is it going to happen there, or could it be, are we going to have to find somewhere else to do it? And so if we were doing that again, I think we would actually have a better chance of doing more of this kind of fun stuff which was the whole point of the LDO drone games anyway, was let's just alpha test a ton of stupid things that we can see what actually happens safely, and then what can we then do at mini air show.
And don't talk about the stuff that doesn't happen safely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, it'd just be us there, and we just do a load of stuff and find out what works, and then take whatever works and do that at the mini air show where there's like public there.
Sure.
But yeah, Mikey
And
Dredd
we
in the
need to
chat
do-
just said we
More
need
freestyle comps.
more freestyle competitions. So yeah, this is something Jack's been on about for ages. We keep telling him like you just need to formalize it, work out a way of doing it. I've tried to get him to do something about it, but he's obviously not that interested in it. Well, he is, but he just won't do anything about it. He keeps telling me to do something about it, but
Yeah, that's what he says.
yeah, but yeah, I think
get
when we eventually get the BFP VRA on again, I think it might be worth asking them, you know, is that going to come under what they do, along with like wing racing and the X-Class stuff, and you know, what are they gonna? What are they
I
gonna?
think it could be a thing. It's just how you judge it. Do you judge it line of sight? Do you judge half line of sight, half FPV? You know, because some tricks look better FPV than they do LOS.
Yeah, because it's not as if it's not done. I mean, it's happened at Western Park, and it's happened at a couple of other places, I'm sure. A couple of other events that they have had it, but it's not been made standardized. It's like the same as the racing was in the beginning, that you know everyone was coming up with their own rules and their own ways of doing things, and then it got formalized by having you know, the guys that joined together to make the BFP VRA, so Raider Racing and whoever decided it's stupid having different rules. Let's just make one set of rules, commonize it, everyone knows what we're doing, and then it can go everywhere.
I vote Frank for president.
No, I don't want anything to do with this. I'm saying
I second.
You're president, Frank.
No.
It's become an AGM meeting all of a sudden. LDO AGM meeting.
That's the thing. Jack's away, so we like actually talk like FPV and drones. And it's,
I know we don't swear. We've not slagged Eamon off. We've not been horrible to me. It's been really pleasant without him. Maybe we should do this more.
Tony, I really got the flack last week when you weren't here. I became Tony too. I was getting the abuse off Jack.
Good. I'm glad.
I had a little cry after the show, and he called me to make sure I was fine.
Oh, you don't call me. I just cry all the time anyway.
You're used to it. You've had a couple of years of it.
So I know 2 years of that bloody Yeti in me bloody hero.
The other thing is, anyone in the chat who's got any ideas of who we should invite on the show in future, we've got a few invites that we're trying to work together and a few shows that we're trying to line up, but any suggestions, always open to them.
Girls Night done as doing well, wasn't it? Nearly 1,400 views on that one.
That has been like the
we just call it Girls Night every time and just not having any girls on, just so we can get clickbait. Who's going to dress up? Andy, I could see you in a frock.
I bet you could. There you go. Now we've lowered the tone, haven't we? That's what it
No,
needs.
sorry.
We're meeting quota.
Sorry. It's a smashing blouse you're wearing. You know, we could. Well, it's low cut, so you know.
It's not a blouse. It's a vest. I'm northern. It's too hot up here.
Good bit of clickbait.
There we go. We've got 3 people suggesting we should have had Chad back on there. I'm gonna talk to Chad and ask him if we can fit him in. I really want to do a Christmas special. Maybe get Chad on, and
I think it's the timing with Chad, isn't it? You mean
hard? Yeah.
because it's like
well-being at the time sort of thing.
Well, I always miss his YouTube chats because it's on at
like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning.
I'm asleep, and I think he gets the people in America tuning in and stuff. But
Looks like we've lost MJ. He's had enough.
God.
That's fair enough.
But yeah, I think Chad would come back on, so maybe we can try
I asked him on one of his live streams, and he said he would. So,
well, that'd be good. We can. I'm pretty sure Chad. If I talk to him, we could get Chad back on. Maybe we should try to do some kind of Christmas special. I mean, what's the date now? The 23rd already of. Yeah,
I think Jack had a promise from Steel to come on as well at some point when he met up in London, I think. So that's an option at some point, maybe. But he's got his own podcast, hasn't he?
Boo. But ours isn't usually the same. I mean, this week it's been a bit tamer, but usually it's a bit different from other FPV podcasts in that we usually don't talk about drones or FPV or anything sensible at all.
How about getting BSM Thomas, both them guys, and then Chad on at the same time, because they're all in Oz.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Have an Australian special.
Maybe we could have a Xmas Australian special.
That's when we get really fed up of it being just dark here all the time. Like middle of January, and we're just like, we haven't seen the daylight in months. Please show us a picture.
Taking January off, like just not going to work for the whole of January and just like going on holiday or something.
Just road tripping through somewhere sunny.
I just really fancy doing something. January's the worst, isn't it? Like, who likes January? Like, Christmas is over, you're broke ass. January stinks. It's raining or it's snowing. It's just crud. I hate January. It's the worst. I think we should. All right. I'm not working the whole of January. I've just decided I'm going somewhere. Don't know where. Somewhere, Cape Verde or something like that.
Having technical issues, NJ.
Yeah, the internet fully crapped out on me there, but it appears to be back and working again.
He's back.
Yeah,
what do you reckon, NJ? Christmas special, Chad, BSM Web, a couple of other guys.
Yeah, sounds great. Everyone has to wear Christmas jumpers and suitable.
Super suitable headgear.
Yeah.
You could just put something on your hat, Andy.
I could have a black Santa hat, maybe a Scrooge hat.
I'm thinking antlers.
I'm more of a Grinch type character this time of year, I'm afraid. I'm not big on it. I don't like being told when to have fun.
Humbug.
Yes, exactly.
Between 8 and 9 p.m. every Thursday. That's when.
Yeah. This is all this fun rolled into 1 hour.
This is like a hobby on a hobby on a hobby, isn't it? It's like RC, FPV, like you're reviewing that's now become less of a hobby, but was originally a hobby. And then this, which is like quite often we end up almost reviewing YouTube videos of FPV.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. It all came together for me when FPV was like two of my passions. I've always been into, I think, and this is probably the case for a lot of people, like I've always been into making videos and always been into flying. So when copters and FPV came together with cameras, it was like the perfect match for me. So yeah, it's all part of it, Yeah.
Does anyone know Bruce Simpson? BSM Web said, "Get Bruce on."
That'd be awesome, but I've never seen him. I've never seen him do anything of the sort.
No, I haven't. But he would be.
Well, there's always a first time, right? I mean, Rotor Riot were on here as their introduction to podcasting and live events, I believe.
It was their first go here.
So This is
I'd love to get Bruce on. That would be completely amazing. He's just a legend. He's an absolute legend. And
Yeah, I also
he's so
think-
committed to his opinions. And yeah, he'd have so much to talk about. That'd be hours long.
Just let him talk. That'd be a 2-hour show. We just shut up.
maybe we
and let
should
him
get
chat.
Bruce and Chad, and then we'd never have to like say anything for like they'll have a 24-hour stream. And we just wouldn't have to.
Be good. Anyone know Bruce? Can anyone talk to Bruce?
I've emailed him before, and he's actually pretty responsive on email. And you'd think with the amount of emails he must get, that would be difficult. But I'd say just drop him an email, see what he says.
Email with the letterhead. Price guy loves you again or something. Because you know he has beef with them, doesn't he?
You might find that some of the Aussie guys might have better contact with him. Maybe, I don't know. Might be worth.
I'd like to get Stu on one day as well, but I've tried talking to BSM Web of getting G'day on, but
I've got Stu as a contact, so I could.
it'd be great to have him on. He's really enthusiastic. He's got a lot of subbies, and I do like his approach to the whole.
Plus,
FPV
he's
thing.
got a young baby now, so he'll be up at that time, anyways.
Yeah, it'd be good.
Actually, you know, Dynamite Girls made a good point there about Albert Kim. I chat to Albert quite a lot, and I'm sure he'd be up for that. So we should.
Oh,
get
he
Albert.
probably would. I've seen him do a couple of live streams himself, actually. So, yeah, he'd probably be up for that. And based in the US, so actually, is he
He's
California?
Yeah,
So,
he is.
it might be. Would it be earlier in the morning for him? Oh, I don't know.
5 hours
5
behind.
That's not too.
It'd be
That
fine.
should be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll bully him into coming on the show. No problem.
That'd be good. Right. Bullying then.
Bullying.
That's what we're gonna
That's the LDO tactic. That's how I got bullied.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You did.
So everyone that wants Chad and Bruce and all these people to come on LDO,
Go and bully
do the
them.
same thing we did with Andy. Go on their videos and just post. Oi,
Hound
go
them,
on LDO.
No, you have to say something nice about them. You guys said something nice about me. Therefore, my ego was interested in that. So I went and watched the show. So let's say Bruce, best reviewer out there, most, you know.
I mean, he is like the face of.
He's the
pretty much
granddaddy,
hobby, isn't he?
Should we say
Like
that? No, maybe not.
the rest of the world almost.
Yeah.
To the hobby side of things, to the building, he is I'm sure the biggest face in it. I've seen people know him who don't know so much about FPV, but the RC generally is like flight test and him, like the two big ones, I would have said.
Yeah, they're definitely the two that got me into it. Yeah, and it's funny as well because it's sort of the kind of complete polar opposite channels, really. Flight test and Bruce. I think that's what I liked about it. And and Bruce has got. If you ever want to look up Bruce, he's got a really interesting past with the media. Actually, I believe he was on a Scrap Heap Challenge. You know, the TV show. Yeah, I think
love that program.
I believe he was sort of like a like RC person on Scrap Heap Challenge.
That makes sense.
Yeah, there was a lot of controversial stuff about a missile. I don't know if you guys know about that.
Carry on.
Was that
Carry
him
on,
who
Kim.
made the sort of RC ballistic missile with like?
I'd have to look up, but I think
I'm sure I've
basically
seen someone build it.
I think
but
he
didn't
wanted
realize it was
to.
him.
I think he wanted to prove that you could build a ballistic missile in your shed or something like that.
Taking a PS4 apart and
This
is how you do it.
But yeah, he's a really interesting guy, and I think between him and Flight Test's review of the Hudson Spyhawk is what got me into reviewing. So It'd be awesome to have Bruce on, but I'm not sure whether he's. Anytime I see a video and he's talking about his computer setup, he's always running like Windows XP, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether he'd be able to do a live stream. I don't know if the internet's any good or anything.
We
Maybe
got
we'll
to just
have to get
hassle
him to-
these people.
Yeah.
We'll just sort of like send him questions on a postcard and try and get one back.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking that tonight is the last night of David Vinderstahl's auction of the rocket
maybe.
knife art or rocket punch art or whatever it was? Rocket knife art, wasn't it? I think that's tonight, I believe. If anyone was thinking of trying to bid on something, then now's the time to go find Rocket Knife on Facebook and have a look at the auction stuff.
Rocket Punch is doing well, isn't it? You're still your fist is still alive.
Yeah, he messaged me saying that he's so surprised by how well it has survived. There's like not a scratch on it still.
He hasn't gone up against my coconut yet.
Yeah. Yeah, looking forward to seeing him eventually put it up against something that it loses against.
Coconut.
We'll see. I'm feeling confident about the coconut.
Really? I'm
Yeah.
going coconut for the win. I'm actually going to drink coconut juice that day. We're going to win. Coconut versus plastic.
We'll see. We'll see.
Okay. We'll see.
But yeah, so all the micros, all the indoor flying. Has anyone been flying any sims lately? I know it's kind of we as a group don't seem to follow sims
Andy.
that much.
Andy's done a nice review on a sim.
I did an updates video to Liftoff because it has changed quite a lot, and the flight characteristics have changed. So I did a little. I got asked about some of the tricks that I do, so I sort of did an updates video on Liftoff and a couple of the tricks that I like to do. And yeah, it's a good one. It's like that. All of the sims out there, they're really cheap. I think so. Anyway, like £15. And there's a mod for GTA 5 where you can fly.
I saw that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So I'm gonna do a video on that.
Yeah, I've just bought GTA 5 purely for that.
Have you seriously?
Yeah, I have. Just because that looks way more fun than having like a little map.
Than beating people up and stealing their cars.
Oh,
Okay,
well.
can I answer a question here that's been asked in the chat? So Dynamite Girl says, "Is it worth it to use a sim?" I've got to say, I think.
What's your weather like?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Where do you live?
Whatever sim you try, they're all getting pretty good. Velostrone's great. So is Liftoff now. It's come a long way because it got way worse before it got better. It's now really good. There's a whole bunch out there, even some free ones that are great. I do think it's worth whichever one you go for the one that feels like the quad you fly. Because the last thing you want to do is to get a quad to fly completely perfect in the sim and just feel completely alien to what you fly in real life. That defeats the point. Get it to fly like your quad so it feels right, the rates feel right. Get it as close as you can. And although it's tempting to go nuts with the power, because with the sims you can put a 6S on there and it's hilarious fun, but does nothing for your real world flying. Get everything as close as possible and then start trying the stuff out that you promise yourself you're going to try out when you go to the field, but you don't. You just go through all 10 batteries and just blast and have a load of fun. And you may have said to yourself, first 3 batteries, I'm just going to try this new trick I've been working on in my head. And you never do it. You just get to the field and you blast. So use the sim for that. Just go over and over a trick that you want to work out, and it will get you within the ballpark of what it's going to feel like on the quad. And I've done that. There's certain maneuvers that are a little more complex that I've definitely worked on the sim to get the muscle memory to start to come together, so I don't have to think about it as much when I do the maneuver on the real quad, and it will save you some cash because you might not crash as much.
And the other thing, of course, I mean, it's a long while ago for us, but I mean, there's people still getting into the hobby. I mean, I think we kind of forget that sometimes, that there are a lot of people still just joining the FPV community, and definitely, if you don't know what a quad should feel like, then get a sim and find out.
Totally. There's two guys that I'm good friends with, and they both wanted to get into it, and they both started on sims, so the complete opposite end to the way someone like me's done it. Completely the opposite way. Started on a sim, went to a quad, and I took the guy, one of the guys fairly local to me, spent hours and hours and hours on the sim, finally got him to go and try out the real quad, and he got it within 3 to 5 flights, and then he was doing circuits. It was quite remote, and I mean 3 to 5 flights he was in acro mode doing circuits.
We had that guy.
That's really impressive.
We had that guy Jack from South Africa. If you listen back to a year ago on our podcast, he started out on. He was a gamer, big gamer, had lots of YouTube, followers and stuff, and he started flying on the sim, and then he approached people and said, "Look, someone send me a quad," and he got sent a quad, and he was flying his quad in an acro within the first few batteries.
Yeah, it's totally doable.
He can fly really well.
I mean, it's nothing new. It's just not as exciting. I think people get bored of it quickly. But for me, it was invaluable when I was flying 3D helicopters, because you just can't afford to crash those things unless you've got a very fat wallet and you're happy to spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds every time you come back from the field. So there was maneuvers with the helicopter. There was one in particular I really, really wanted to do, called the death spiral, which is where you put the helicopter on its side and you basically pull with it on its side, so it's like a razor blade going towards the ground, and as it's free falling you pull him back elevator, so it sort of spins on its axis, and then you bail to invert it at the end. And the idea of actually doing that on a £1,500 helicopter rightly so, it had me shaking at the thought of it. So I just practiced it to death on the simulator, years and years ago, and then went out and did it on the cheapest helicopter I had first, and it was just amazing. It was like, that felt like it did in the sim. And after that I thought, right, well, this is where to practice stuff. Learn to do that stuff there, and it will save you a bunch of money. So yeah, I think sims are totally worth it.
I'm the same. I never flew a helicopter before. I learned to fly helicopters purely in a sim, and then I went and bought a helicopter, and I could just fly it like it did in the simulator. I was amazed. I learned to fly planes in a club. I was in a club for like 20 years or something, and the same there. Any sort of new trick I wanted to learn, go in the simulator. They don't have to. This is the thing. People say, what's the most realistic simulator? It doesn't need to be completely realistic. It just needs to be transferable. So I went in Liftoff and did like a trick series. I was able to do all of the tricks that I can do with a copter. I mean, yeah, that you have to adapt, but you get a different copter, you have to adapt how that flies. Not all copters fly the same. So all of the sims are good. Liftoff, Velocidrone, Rotor Rush, even the DRL simulator after a bit of setup. You have to pay for that one now, though. Freerider, I haven't checked out Freerider for ages, but when I flew Freerider, I would say probably we're talking years ago now, but probably the least realistic, maybe, I would say, but still usable. In fact, Freerider, I think you can get it on your phone.
Yeah, I had it on my phone for ages. It was nice to be on the train commuting and just be like, I mean, it was obviously terrible because it's, like using on-screen controls or something, but it's just like
you can hook up a Tyrannus to your phone though.
Yeah, you can. Not on a train though.
No, not on a train.
Has anyone seen? I didn't read anything, but I saw racing goggles.
Oh,
DJI down the bottom.
DJI goggles racing edition.
Oh yeah, how did we not mention those?
No, I haven't looked into it or read anything about it. Does anyone know anything about it?
All I saw was 50 millisecond delay, and I switched off.
Yeah.
50.
Yeah.
Much, isn't it?
It's like, what are we going to do with
End
that?
of subject.
I mean, maybe if it was something, I don't know. I'm just trying to work out how that would be a good thing. What it could be used for. I mean,
Well,
I guess
I suppose it would be all right for
spectating, but you can't spend that much money on
No,
spectating, surely.
what does oh God, I can't even think. It's on sale at the moment in Hobby King. What's the oh God,
The
Bixby?
quantum stuff.
No, the HD stuff. Shut up, you stupid phone. The HD
Connex, are you talking about?
Connex. What?
Connex
Yeah.
Pro.
Yeah.
What's the lag on that? That's about 50, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's about that.
Might work with them.
Yeah, possibly.
Apparently,
Quite possibly.
they're on sale for 150 quid at the moment. Connex.
Really? That's
Oh,
pretty good.
Rick? No way.
But, yeah, have a look. Hobby King, quick.
Connex,
Yeah,
as in the digital system.
The Pro
Yeah.
site, yeah.
Pretty sure it's 150 quid.
That doesn't surprise me with all of this HD technology coming out, actually. You've got the FPV Blue system
It
that
obviously means something better is around the corner.
possibly, yeah, maybe they've got their next
But also,
version
if you
of-
remember, who was it? Someone came on a few months ago and said that there was they had a Connex system. Well, no, they had a Clearview system, and their mate had a Connex system. And when he asked him if he wanted to swap, the guy with the Connex said, "Yeah, I'd rather have a Clearview than a Connex."
I
just
think the Connex stuff, I've had the privilege to fly the Connex stuff. And if you are like I flew the Falcor. I've got a friend who's got a Falcor, which is
Isn't that a big dragon that you get on and big white dragon?
It's like the Connex version of the Vortex series. So it's an RTF HD quadcopter, and it's got ultrasonic on it. So a bit like the DJI stuff. So it's got altitude hold, but it follows the terrain.
Yeah.
So if you're a beginner, you don't have to worry about your throttle. You can fly around and learn how to fly. And I had a friend who got one, and he never used a simulator. He actually learned to fly acro from flying from a Connex Falcor. So he actually started off with that and then moved to 5.8. And I have to say, I was impressed with it. I mean, obviously there's a delay. It was kind of like how it's like flying with the Runcam Split.
Can you go from 16 milliseconds to a delay of that much, though?
Oh, you mean go? I could. I could, but I'm old, so you know.
What about if you're a racer going from 16 milliseconds to 50?
I would say not. No, I'd say not. But as a system, I mean, when you appreciate what it's doing, I was impressed with it. And of course, you need HD goggles, though. That's the thing. You need something with a HDMI in.
That's it. I mean, that FPV Blue looks better to me than Connex.
Yeah, that looks it. Although that's
isn't it really? It's a bit
well,
big.
More wing stuff, I suppose.
It looks good though. Yeah. Recording. One thing that you don't think about with all this HD stuff, though, is something that we ran into with the Falcor was you get a HD downlink, but nothing records. So. So if you actually want to record the HD feed, you have to put in a HDMI DVR in the mix, which adds even more latency. So that's when it starts to become a question of how useful is this, because you've got to find a way to. I think EasyCap have that a HD DVR. You have to put that into the mix, which is fine if you've got a wing and you don't mind a bit of delay, but when when you're on a quadcopter, I think it'd be a bit more tricky. But still, I think we should encourage it, because it's clearly the way that things are going to go, isn't it? It can only be the way that things go with improvements. So I'm all for it. HD.
HD would be good if they get the lag down.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is the lag.
And the fact that you can it'd be nice to just have like, because people have bought HD in my club and they can only run it on one quad. You know, I buy my Clearview and it runs on all my quads. Yeah, it's not HD, but the picture never breaks up and it's fantastic. And I can use it on all 15 of my quads, whereas they've got one quad for one HD Connex stuff. You know, if you bought a HD Connex system and it had no lag and all that lot, you'd have to replace all your cameras and BTXs, and they'd have to make it worth. You know, you can get a VTX for £23 now.
Yeah. I mean, you have to realize if you're investing in a HD that you're an early adopter, basically, and there's I mean, you still get breakup.
Yeah.
Except when it breaks up, the picture freezes, so it's not as ideal.
We know, those of us who were there at Sumner's Ponds last year.
Yes, that was a really good experience.
We won't make any name. We won't mention any names. But there was we had to go hunting as a team. It was just everyone that was on the
fields away, wasn't it?
It went so far. That was so bad. But yeah, it was a long trek to go and find this quad.
I think that's the thing. That's something that I found with the HD system as well, is that you could have perfect picture, and you don't know that you are about to go out of range. And as soon as you do, that's it. It's gone.
Done.
Yeah.
You go, the range on this is incredible. Oh wait, I've got no. Whereas it on 5.8 system, it starts to get a bit snowy, and you can go, yeah, I'm at my limit there. I'll come back.
Yeah. Apparently, it was also an issue of like it didn't just disappear, but it froze. So there was a sort of lag of like what's happened.
The last pixel.
Rather than just like knowing. Oh, it's
also
losing.
Something that happened with us is my friend was flying the Connex system, and I was flying 5.8, and because the Connex system is so powerful, as in milliwatts, it was seriously interfering with my FPV feed, like putting lines all across my feed. So another issue with it as well.
I think that's something that you can, I think there's a way to set it up where it doesn't do that. I believe. I could be wrong.
Possibly.
But yeah, it's all this thing where, I mean, those bits could be probably fixed with more development on the firmware. I mean, if it loses signal more gracefully, if it deals with power a bit more conservatively and is a bit friendlier and easier to set up so that it comes default, not wiping everyone out. I'm sure that can be done fairly easily. And once those development costs are paid by the early adopters, I'm sure the general costs will come down.
NJ, have you got any DJI goggles on the way?
No, I haven't. I've kind of. I don't think any goggle manufacturer ever will send me anything again after I had a new one in the Top Sky goggles. They never contacted me. I don't think they ever will.
They're an absolute pain, by the way, to review. Goggles are the worst thing to review because you can't show people, and you can only show your opinion, and everyone's got a different shaped face, so everyone's got a different opinion on them. Really difficult to review. I'll see if I can get a pair, but maybe not. They're hard to get hold of DJI stuff.
Yeah, I'll be happy when digital becomes something that is we can switch over to it and it works and everything's what it needs to be. I still feel like we're a way off, but I will be. Do you know what I've always been happy with the analog side of things and the improvements and the antennas that we use and the diversity, and like everything's made gradual progressions. And when I was out and I did this little micro flight out in Holland, it was in a town square. It's like 3 a.m, like really late. There's no one there at all. But because there was lots of stone reflective surfaces, there was a bit of multipathing. And the 3 guys I was with who'd never seen this before, 2 of them like looked in the goggles while I was flying, and they were like just completely wowed at how cool it was. Like if you've shown anyone FPV for the first time, looking through the goggles. And then the 3rd guy I was with said, "Wow, this reminds me of like 90s VHS." Oh
People
man,
are
you just ruined it for
surprised by,
me.
like, how they're like, this isn't, an HTC Vive. Like, what are you doing? It's like, this is terrible resolution. And
Can I just say though, HDFPV works amazing for aerial photography. The DJI HD system is amazing. Like I've got a P4, and I received some 1080 box goggles where you can plug a HDMI in it, and my Phantom 4's got a HDMI out. The quality through that, it's like it really is like you're watching a computer screen and flying at the same time. And because you've got GPS, it doesn't matter that there's a 50 millisecond delay. You don't even think about it. So and what's amazing with DJI as well is and it's incredible how it works. If you're in close, you get the full sort of 1080p picture, but when you start going further away, it's a bit like when you're watching a video, when you're watching Netflix and your internet connection goes slow, it changes the picture and it starts to go a bit grainy. Well, the DJI stuff, when you get further away, in order that you get a better picture, it lowers the bandwidth of the HD signal, and you can physically see it go a bit more grainy, but it impresses me that you get further away, it knows that the signal isn't as strong, so it reduces it. Incredible. It's great technology for DJI, but not for racing.
No.
I think
we're a couple of years off still.
I think this is a sign that we must be coming to the end of this night's stream.
Yes, I think so.
What, because we're talking DJI and not racing?
DJI, it's gone too far without Jack. Yeah.
Hospital bed now.
He's getting grumpy. Yeah.
He's spinning in his hospital bed. I think we'd install an RPM meter on Jack's bed.
Just an accelerometer on
I think we're probably there before. I don't think there's anywhere else to go after DJI. We always seem to end on DJI in some way or another.
Is that my fault? I get called a DJI fanboy these days, so it could be my fault.
No, but I mean, you have one, don't you, Tony?
I do. I've had a P3 for since it came out, and I love it for aerial photography.
We're doing it again.
It is the nuts though. Like I've charged a battery the other night just and put it on because you can tell your batteries when to run out.
What?
Like so I put it on storage. So it
Are we bringing it right back.
Yes, we are
full circle. You see, this is planned.
So it doesn't go into storage mode in like 3 days. We had some really nice sunsets, so I put it. So I charged one and said, "Look, discharge in 10 days," and it's rained ever since.
So fantastic.
So you're feeling about these new smart batteries that NJ's getting hold of.
I like that idea. I went out today and forced myself out because I had some batteries I had charged for at least a week, and I thought, I need to flatten these, man.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and it would be nice.
Worry about that though, because I've seen the results of like a battery being discharged on like 0.6 C and just left there for at the end of the day, and then it's decided it wasn't happy and
catches fire.
Yeah, well, at least covered the room in like lithium smuts. And
yeah, Andrew, I've got 2 of these sitting opposite me. Like...
I'm just saying, maybe you want to put them in a bag until we know what they're going to do. I guess the DJI stuff.
Do not keep your lipos in your house where you live, please.
They're going in the ammo box with the others, I think.
Yeah, because I mean the DJI stuff has been used for long enough now that presumably it works.
All that stuff.
I haven't heard of a lot of DJIs going up in flames, sitting in a.
No, I haven't heard anything going up in flames.
So I guess it must be doable. But on the other hand, DJI batteries aren't being crashed quite as violently.
And DJI probably got quite a budget, I would imagine, as well, when it comes to this kind of technology.
Well, maybe we will as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. But NJ's the guinea pig, so How do you feel about that?
We'll see where we are after. Yeah, I'll just end up having really polite flights with these batteries and like really look after them.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll see where we are. But on that note, I guess we should probably let the good
I think
people of the
that's-
internet move on to their other YouTube rabbit holes that they would like to venture
Yeah.
down.
Find some more rabbit holes and bring something back. Post stuff in the chat and the comments and everything, and let us know who we should bring on, any stuff we should chat about, videos we should have seen for next week, all this kind of stuff. But yeah, thank you for listening. It's been Let's Drone Out. I've been Frank. We've had Andy.
Bye
We've
bye.
had NJ.
Cheers, guys.
We had Tony.
Au revoir.
And we haven't had Jack, but I'm sure he's in the chat. He's in here. He's here in spirit. And yeah, best wishes to him. Get well soon
Yeah,
and all
Get
that.
well soon, you old git.
And thank you. Good night.